Hello, and welcome to the CDO Magazine interview series. I'm Adita Karkera, Chief Data Officer for Deloitte's Government and Public Services. And today I'm delighted to have with me Ram Iyer, the Chief Data Officer for the Department of Food and Drug Services. Ram, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I think it would be great if you maybe get started by telling the audience just a little bit about your journey until today.
I have had over 25 years experience working for private industry in the biotech, as well as large international organizations. And as I was looking at what I should do next, like most people in the data and AI space, you have many opportunities. And when I found out that premier regulatory agencies for public health, FDA, was looking for its first CDO, I just couldn't pass up the opportunity to make a difference. And it was stressful to start something during the pandemic, but I couldn't have made a better decision to join this phenomenal agency during that time, and being able to make the little bit of a difference we've been able to make in our use of data for our public health mission. So my background was mostly nonprofits, international agencies, private industry, and some consulting, and the last 3 years in the agency.
Well, Ram, the role of the CDO is a new executive position, well, relatively new in the federal government space, mandated by the Evidence Act, and which was enacted in 2019. Can you talk to us a little bit about how the role was established in FDA, and maybe also talk a little bit about your specific responsibilities within the FDA?
FDA did not have a chief data officer until I started 3 years back. Although I've been enrolled for about a little over 3 years, I would say the real work started about 2.5 years back. I started in the middle of the COVID pandemic, and our focus was very heavily on just getting things done in the first few months for the immediate needs. So we built the strategy over the next 6 to 9 months, and we've been executing that since then. What has also been significant for us is the ODT, which is the organization led by the CIO, has been reporting to the commissioner directly for the last 2 years. This is not very common in the federal government. And because of that elevation, the CDO role also has tremendous visibility and the attention of the senior most leaders, including the commissioner, on our data strategy. So that has really helped us. And we have made some really good progress in the last 2 years with that mandate, as well as many of the strategies that we have developed and have been implementing for the last 2 to 2.5 years.
Well, Ram, thank you for that background. You really sparked my curiosity, though. You mentioned data strategy. Would you want to go a little deeper and tell us what was involved in your journey in creating the data strategy and what your strategic pillars are?
Yeah, very good. That's a very good question. When we started the data strategy, we started with 3 pillars. The first pillar is we wanted to be value-driven. We identified projects that will provide some value in 6 to 9 months, rather than creating a document that will take 3 years and then we have a roadmap. And before that, we've left a lot of problems unsolved. So we've always been very agile and iterative in our approach. While we are being value-driven, we also wanted to build foundational capabilities that will help us in the long run. So we cannot be building these foundational capabilities on a project-by-project basis. And then the third pillar is hyper-focused plan for talent. We believe that that would be the limiting factor in our ability to scale. So we spent a lot of time on those. So with all these 3, we've been able to successfully create an ecosystem of tools, processes, and data, removing some friction that existed in the organization for use of data. And we have solved many important problems, both in the data practices side, as well as the mission priorities through these capabilities that we have built. So it is looking very positive, and the support has been phenomenal from the leadership for the strategy and the implementation of the strategy.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, your emphasis on creating a strategy that's actionable. I mean, I can't tell you how many conversations we have every day around strategy issues, because sometimes strategies, like you said, are created to just create documents and they aren't really executable or actionable. So I love your emphasis there. But Ram, you've been in the industry for several decades right now. You've been as the CDO for the last 3 years for FDA. What in your mind are maybe one or two your or your department's success stories that you could share with the audience?
Yeah, the first one I would share is probably a little bit boring, but it is bread and butter for any data organization, is our work on the master data. We have needs for master data for firms when it comes to inspections, when it comes to perhaps shortages. We need a very good list of products and sometimes the ingredients to understand the entire supply chain in some cases. So we have done some work in ensuring that we have a consistent view of this master data, not just for a particular center or particular office, but as we all know, many of the products are interdependent. We are not having a singular product anymore. Something that happens in the biologics has an impact on the the traditional drug side, or maybe something in the food might have an impact on the animal side. So our ability to consolidate that is critical. And we have done some good work there. And the way, not only have we made progress there, but also the way we have done it is equally important. We have done this in a very collaborative manner where we have built in the discovery and change management as a single piece. By doing that, it's going to help us to implement these strategies faster. We've also taken every opportunity when there is a particular crisis that happens or an emergency that happens to quickly respond when it comes to monitoring inspections during the COVID time, balancing the safety of our inspectors with the public health needs. How do we measure that, and how do we create dashboards that the field officers and the inspection groups can use? We have created some dashboards to do that. And then behind the scene, we've also put some capabilities such as OCR and NLP to pull lots of the internal information to turn that into a digital asset that can be leveraged by multiple offices and centers.
So I was really hesitant when I asked you to only outline one or two success stories, because I know you have so many, as were pointed out in the previous discussion that we had, but thank you for at least sharing a few of those here. Ram, one of the things that you mentioned when you were talking about your data strategy was your focus on upskilling and building talent. Can you elaborate a little bit more on the approach that you're taking to build that literacy program or your upskilling program?
Yeah. One of the things about FDA is we are blessed with tremendous talent, and talent that already is trained in a lot of the quantitative skills. So my job was made easier by thinking slightly differently about this entire talent and upskilling. What I did not want to do was build an empire of data scientists where I have to staff with 200 centralized resources. I didn't think that was the right strategy for FDA. I also didn't think that by putting some kind of a curriculum, we just write a large contract with some university, and then, we have a lot of people over the next 18, 20 months have certificates. But it's a very long process and it doesn't provide immediate value, while those are very good from a training perspective. So we took a slightly different approach. I call it the 70-20-10 model. Keeping in line with our data strategy, it's highly value driven. So the people we bring to this program are not from my organization. They're actually working for the centers and offices. So we sponsor for these folks to come in, and 70% of their time is spent by working on real problems. We give them tools. There's a base training we give them, and then we have a portfolio of problems that we want to deal with. So we'll give them one or two of those problems. And then we will, the 20% of the time is spent on mentoring, whether it could be a peer mentoring or a supervisor mentoring or even a reverse mentoring that allows them to learn some new skills to solve that particular problem. Only 10% is spent on typical traditional classroom training. So we have found this to be particularly effective. And just through these cohorts, we have actually solved 2 or 3 very interesting problems that the centers would have spent hundreds of thousands of dollars, or the agency would have spent hundreds of thousands of dollars, and would have waited for months and months to solve them. Also, we have built right now about 36 trained data scientists across the organization who now speak common language, understand the common processes and the common data, they know how to access the common data. Now they are ready to solve problems, not only for the agency when we need them, but they are using it in their day-to-day work to help the problems that are in their centers. And now they're creating their own community to work on the tools that we have given them. So it is creating sort of a viral effect, and we are really excited to take this program and scale it even further.
I just love your idea of the 70-20-10 approach. So thank you for outlining that and how you're continuing to build talent across the FDA and beyond. Ram, I can't say thank you enough for joining us today and sharing your experiences and insights with the audience. I hope we stay in touch and maybe have another version of this interview soon. But for the time being, audience, please continue to join me in watching other interviews posted both on cdomagazine.tech as well as on Deloitte GPS CDO's website. Ram, thank you again for your time.
Thank you. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk about our strategy.